Welcome back to Beyond the Brick. My name is Joshua Hanlon, and today we're taking a look at the LEGO Ideas grand piano set next to a beautiful concert grand piano. I'm actually in the home of my good friend, Dr. Corey Pennycuff, who is a professor at the University of Notre Dame, as well as having a degree in piano performance. So he is well qualified to take us through all of the different elements of both the LEGO piano and a real piano. So thank you for joining me, Corey.
Glad to be here, thank you.
So since we have Corey's beautiful piano right here, why don't you give us a brief explanation of what this real piano is, and then we'll take a look at comparing it to the LEGO set.
Sure, what we're looking at, this is actually a concert grand piano, 9-foot Baldwin SD10, amazing instrument, just a king that, anyway, and yes, and what we have in front of it is an amazing LEGO set.
Yes, and we had the opportunity to build this set on live stream, so Corey has been able to see every element of this coming together, and you were very impressed, to say the least, as we put this set together.
It was fun. I enjoyed it, yes.
So I want to dive in then to the similarities, maybe some of the differences between the LEGO set and your piano. So why don't you come over and you can start demonstrating, maybe starting with the keys and kind of some of the moving functions here on the LEGO set, and then compare that to your real piano and see what the LEGO designers were able to do here with the set.
So great, something before we start tearing it apart then. All right, well, okay, so the keys have a mechanical function in this model, and obviously it's like from this side, it's as we press a key, well, they individually go down. The nice part is actually what you see happening on the inside, and that is, as I press a key, there's two things that you can see happening. Number one, you can see inside there is a hammer that comes up, again, in response to pressing the key. And second, there is what we call a damper that also rises, and this is to mimic the action of what is happening inside of a piano. Yes, love it. Should I?
Yes, go ahead. So now we'll show it on the real piano.
On a real piano, we get the same thing, of course, when we hit a key. The hammers come up, the dampers will move, but of course it produces sound. One of the big differences between the model piano and this one here in front of the real piano.
But very similar design elements there.
Very much
with
similar,
the way that the piano operates.
Yes, very similar.
So that is one thing that they captured, I would say, very well with the LEGO set, is that function on a real piano.
Yes, there's one other little feature, and that is this rightmost pedal. When you press the pedal, it actuates all of the dampers to lift at the same time. That is also the behavior we get on a real piano. Pressing the sustain pedal, you will see that all the dampers raise at the same time. And you'll also notice, just again, a design detail, the dampers don't go all the way to the highest strings. On the LEGO piano set, they don't do that as well, because the strings die out so quickly. We don't, as pianists, we don't worry about them being dampened, and so the model catches that detail as well.
So speaking of the strings, let's compare that next then. So you can talk about here, we can see what we have on the LEGO piano, and with this one, we just have the one set of long pearl gold kind of flex tubing that represents the strings. And so what strings would those be on this piano?
So, well, inside every piano, there's actually strings going in two separate directions, and we can see here, usually they're not parallel. That is, the two sets, they overlap, and pianos are what are called overstrung. One set of strings goes on top of the other. The lowest strings, the bass notes, are copper wound, and they're a lot thicker. The thinner ones are just the bare, I don't know if they're steel or what, but they are metal of some sort. They're of a silver color. And I believe in the original model, if we can contrast against Donnie Chen, who their original designer. Yes. He did have that in the original design. However, there were some things that they changed internally to make to clean up the design and make it look a little nicer. And so, as such, they went with the straight idea to capture the idea of strings internally. And so, but one of the things we got was, I believe, the addition of these sound holes on the soundboard internally. And if you look inside an actual piano, yes, you do have these sound holes which allow sound to escape and help in the projection of sound. So another little detail that I just thought was really nice was you have these silver, what do we call this piece?
That's like a little Lego round expert. 1x1 stud piece.
Yes, to breaking this there. These are the bolts that you will see throughout the piano here and along the edge as well. So you'll see those all throughout the piano. You see that captured in the model as well.
And that's such a small little detail, but it's obviously something you see on a real piano. So it's great that they were able to represent that as well.
Somebody who was paying attention to those small details, which just adds to the quality.
Another really neat detail we can see when you have your piano lid raised up is the felt and the colors of that. So I believe that is also accurately represented in the Lego set.
Yes, so you actually see red, the red color here captured, and you can see on my piano there is this string of, I can't even think of its actual name at this exact moment. It is traditionally red, and in other parts it is an actual felt. This isn't felt up here, but it is the red color.
Okay.
And these exist to dampen these strings that are not meant to make, the part of the string that is not meant to make noise, while the speaking part of the string is free to vibrate. This is to keep those from vibrating so that it doesn't produce weird sounds while you're playing. And again, they captured that in the model itself, which was, just a beautiful detail.
Now, as we're looking at other functions of a real piano, we can demonstrate the lid. So I'll just lift this up here, and then Corey can show it on his piano as well. So for the Lego set, you've got some long Technic bricks with holes in them, and that's where you can put, what is this, just the kickstand? Is that the official name for it, Corey?
The stick, I suppose.
The stick, okay. Yes. I like kickstand better. And so then once you lay that down in there, then this lid is able to be closed. And so then, Corey, you can demonstrate on the piano as well.
And on a grand piano, it also has the lid. I need to move this. I have a mic in here. That is not standard issue for a grand piano. But yes, you can put the lid down. And I will say on most grand pianos, I have seen one piano that didn't have this feature, but most of them have what we call full stick, and that is the full length, and then half stick, which I think it's really 2/3 of the way. And again, that was something that was on the original model, but was not able to make it on this version. I believe we could take the stick that exists.
So we can demonstrate that. You can do a lot. If you want to hold the lid there, I'll just.
Sure.
So you can do a little modification. So you just take off that one axle and then put this down. There you go. It's half stick.
Exactly. And in a real piano, that means it's not going to project sound as much. So you get the same look.
Yes.
And look, it's half as quiet as it was before. What can we say?
So then, looking at other features, I'll just lay that down there for now. How about the?
So, yes, the music desk. Because that will also let us talk about the second half of the lid. We can take away the music, which we should mention is Playday, written by the designer Donnie Chen, and which, speaking of the tile, it's nicely printed there. But then it sits on this, what's called a music desk. And here, if I can put up the little pieces to fold it down flat. And if you want to compare this to mine, the music desk again will fold down flat and slide out of the way. Somebody may notice that they go in different directions. That doesn't matter. That just depends on whoever made the piano. Some fold back, some fold forward. On the original design, this could slide, on mine, the music desk slides out. On this one, on the Lego model, it lifts off straight up.
I can demonstrate that here
Yes.
real quick. So there's just a couple of studs on each side that you undo that, so it just comes right out like that.
And I would say don't be upset at that feature, because I've seen plenty of grand pianos that do that. The music desk does not slide out, it lifts straight up and out. So again, that just depends on the design. If I put down my lid all the way, we can see that it has this part that closes, and likewise on the model. Of course, the music desk can be inside. We're just not putting it on there right now. It does indeed close up, just like everything. We have the fall board here that, again, closes, and very similar. We'll see that just in a moment on my piano. When we open the fall board, one of the nice little details is the Lego logo in gold, which, as most pianists know, it is traditional to have the piano maker's mark there. In this case, mine has I didn't clean this before you came, so it's got some fingerprints on it.
That's okay.
But the beautiful Baldwin logo. So, and again, on the fall board, and that behaves just like the model, or the model behaves just like this. So, all right, so that is the first. Now I'm going to open this back up just because it will make talking about some other things easier as well.
Get this in there. There we go. So now do you want to dive into the front part of the piano?
Yes, let's definitely do that. So one of the neat things when we're speaking with Donnie, in fact, we were looking at, and I believe in his original video as well, he showed how the front part of this matches the design of most pianos themselves. And so we're going to start off with, we're going to remove the fall board here. And I believe this lifts just straight up. Is that correct? There are axles in there that this piece goes down onto? Yes. There are axles that the fall board comes down on.
We should mention the line of red under here as well, again representing that felt color.
The felt that is traditionally on the bottom of a fall board. Likewise, on a grand piano, every once in a while they'll have a screw on one, depending on the model, but mine just lifts. Hoping I don't scratch anything, you understand. I'm not looking at what I'm doing, so there we go. And they do, just lifts straight out. And mine, the felt is, it's more of a burgundy, but
they still represented it with a nice color.
It is still considered in the design. All right, so the next thing would be removing, we want to be able to slide out the keys just so you can see that action, because the action is beautifully designed. So what we're going to do is we need to remove this assembly that keeps the keys from being able to slide out. I'm going to ask Josh to do that because there's a pin underneath that will need to be pulled, and likewise I'm going to grab a screwdriver actually and remove a screw, just like Josh is removing a pin.
So I will pull these pins down. There's one on each end here. So this is what they look like. Grab this one over there. While Corey's, you can get a shot of him unscrewing the...
Disassembling my piano.
This is what it looks like on a real piano.
See, it's probably the same color. Even one more screw that I need to remove over here.
As he's doing that, I'll start to pull this out here. There you go. And then this just pops right out. You can see, can you demonstrate that on your piano now?
So mine, again, will have a part that lifts out here. Some pianos will have screws there, but please don't do this at home unless you're comfortable disassembling.
Don't try this at home,
piano.
kids.
And these are called the cheek blocks, and yes, they just come out on either side. And shall we remove this? Okay. Don't do this unless you're comfortable with it. Be careful, don't press down on the keys here because that causes hammers to go up and you can break them off. So I'm going to just pull straight out. And here is the hammer assembly.
Wow, that's so crazy looking when it's all out like that.
really big. And of course, the nice thing is, you know, we get this action. And yeah, if you hit too hard, they'll flip up. But yeah, grand piano, this is quite a standard looking action, in my opinion. I mean, it's a great quality action. So we're going to talk about this a little more, I believe, right?
Yeah, so we also need to demonstrate how it comes out on the Lego set.
Yeah, so
as well.
I won't be, I'll push it in just a little bit so it doesn't fall,
yes,
you know, don't want to break
idea.
anything.
So then you can come over and go ahead and take it out and show us how it works on the Lego set.
This one, again, it just slides out in exactly the same way. And we have same thing. I don't know, can we hit it up? Yeah. We get that same behavior.
They captured it well.
Yeah, they did. And the action is obviously simpler, you know, but you get this little knuckle that presses up on the keys. And you even see on the back there's this, again, it looks red because, again, there's a felt back there. And I haven't looked on mine to see if it's red, but I do know that traditionally there's always a felt. And this actually presses up on the, it allows these lifters to work on the dampers here. So that's how it works when you press a key, that it raises a damper. Well, it does the same thing on this action here. Now, I'm going to move this out just so I can bring, what's the best way to put this angle-wise? This way or that way?
We'll just try it out and see how it looks.
We'll try it out. And if I need to move it, we will.
Do you need some help? You got it? Okay.
I would rather do this that way. I don't have anyone to blame but myself.
That's your nice way of saying you don't trust me. It's okay.
If it falls.
Be careful. I'm nervous.
Again, don't try this at home. I believe we're about halfway. That's great. Okay. On the back, yes, you do see the felt.
Yeah, that looks exactly like the keys with the red on the back.
That's how it works. Oh, it's gorgeous. And obviously the action for a grand piano key is quite a bit more sophisticated in how it works. The Lego one does what it needs to do. How about that? That's the easiest way to say it.
There are limitations to the pieces and what they can do.
There are. Now, we will also mention, we talked about this with Donnie when we did his interview. I noticed how beautifully weighted the keys were. They just behaved really nicely. And that's all in the design of the key itself. And pianos are the same way. There are weights in that, if you look at it at the end, it's actually probably on the other side. It's probably coming in from this side, so you can't see it. But there are weights in each one of these keys just so that they behave exactly. And especially grand pianos. All pianos are very well designed. Grand pianos are like race cars. You know,
they're the best, the top line.
Well, they're finely tuned in order to get the performance out of them. And that's what we have here. We have this same sort of behavior. So, and do you recall, how long did it take a lot of people have asked, was it really repetitive putting together the action? Your opinion?
I feel like because both of us were building together, it took out a lot of the repetition. If I had sat down and built this by myself, I think this section here would have become a little repetitive, yes. But overall, compared to a lot of builds I've done with a ton of repetition, this build did not have much of that. A lot of it was a super, like building the body and everything in the inside here was very fun. I would say, yeah, the only part that was really repetitive at all was the key section here.
But there are different styles of keys as well,
yes.
So it's not that you're doing the exact same thing
right.
over and
It's
over.
Not. It's not like the same thing however many times there.
There's a little bit of variation there, I suppose. Now I'm going to show you something on the inside, then I'll slide this back in, and then we'll look at the same thing there on the model, just so that we can get the key bed here, or the keys back in and not knock them over accidentally. But if you'll look inside here, this is actually the key bed. That's called the key bed. Underneath here, you see that what happens when you press a key, I know it's very dark on the screen, but this is what raises the dampers. Likewise, when I hit the pedal, there is a bar that goes across and raises all of them at the same time. You can see the stick coming up and raising that bar, and that's what raises all the dampers. Let's look at the model itself. And what we'll see is that inside there are each one, the dampers can be raised individually, but there's a bar underneath there that when we press the pedal, it raises all of them. So again, the same design structure, which is nice. Now, I need to put the key assembly back in without breaking anything, but can you talk about the cam assembly? Because that doesn't exist in a real piano. So
yes, the long axle back there?
Yes.
Yes. So this is a good opportunity to mention that since we have it all kind of taken apart here. So you'll notice in the very back there, there's a very long axle, and then there's the various like red, white, and blue Technic pieces there that go in different directions. And so what that does is that's connected to a motor that's in the back here. And then when you connect the piano to the app, which we'll talk a little bit more about later on, then that whole axle will move and actually move the keys as songs are playing through the app. So the whole reason that's there is just to give that kind of sort of playability feature to look like the piano keys are moving and playing a song while it's sitting on display.
I suppose we could also mention that to open or to access the battery compartment, and also to turn the unit on so that you can connect Bluetooth, your phone to it,
yes.
That is, we should say, is this door that opens up.
So that's the battery box that you see right there, and then also inside there is the motor, like I mentioned, and then there's also a sensor in there as well that I believe kind of helps tell the app when you're hitting a key. Is the function for that. We weren't entirely sure what the sensor was for when we were building it.
Exactly, but once we started playing around with the app afterwards, I was like, oh, okay, it must be tied to that. I believe it is an infrared sensor, and it should be in this back corner, perhaps. And in fact, I think I just realized how it works. As you press a key, any key, this long axle will be pressed up. It doesn't matter which key you're pressing, and that moves something in front of that one sensor on the far
okay.
side.
Well, there we go.
So
that answers our question then.
Yeah,
that's
we didn't
what
know
the sensor
until
is for. One of the controversies that people have pointed out with this set, and kind of one of the issues with the design, is the fact that these keys over here are not all completely even, which obviously when you look at a piano like Corey's, the keys are all very nice and even. So that was a problem here with the way that the set is designed currently. There's really no way to get the keys to all line up perfectly. So we were talking to Donnie Chen, the fan designer of the set, and he pointed out a fix for that. So if we look at the instructions here on step 81, there's this long axle that you put in there, and you'll notice the orange piece. That's the first piece you put on that long axle before you put all the other pieces on. So if you can see the orange piece is back there in the very back. If you replace that orange piece with a couple of pieces that actually are in the set, then you can fix the key problem. So one of the pieces is just one of the extra small blue Technic pins that comes with the set. Then the other piece you'll want is one of these black Technic pieces that's on the bottom of the pin down here. And you can still stick those pins in to keep everything together, so losing this piece won't actually affect the structure of the set. So what you do is you take this and you just stick that blue pin inside there, and then slip that on the end of the axle in place of the orange piece. So if you go back to the instructions here, you can see instead of putting the orange piece on, you would just slip this on in its place, just like that, with the bit of the blue sticking out, and then that will actually allow those keys to reach kind of a 0 point where they're all even at the same time. So that was just one of the tips that Donnie pointed out to us to help fix that issue if you want all the keys to be even. A couple of last features to show you on the piano. One thing is the wheels, so it actually rolls like a real piano does. It rolls very nicely, actually, back and forth on the table here. And as you can see next to Corey down there, the wheels are very similar to the design on his own piano.
Yes. So pianos, when they get this big, they'll tear up your wood floor. That's why I've got a caster underneath them. But the design of the legs, again, with the the arch here, I guess.
That works.
The curve, that's the better word. It's mimicked even in,
it really
in the
is,
leg
yes.
design here. Just beautiful attention to detail.
Very, very nice. Now, one of the best parts of the set, Corey's maybe favorite part, is the bench, which actually operates like a real bench. So why don't you demonstrate for us, Corey, with, do you want to start with your bench or the Lego one first?
Yes, you may have never known this, but pianists are picky. And one of those things we're picky about is how high we sit, because it has everything to do with arm fatigue and everything like that while you're playing. And so we get these benches that you can turn the knob on the side and they will raise and lower. And this one is rather slow, but I guarantee that it's working. So we have that behavior, and then on this bench here, we have that turning behavior as well, to raise and lower the bench. So that was a neat feature. One of the things I also enjoyed was they used the back side of a plate here, so that I don't know what the dome pieces here are called.
Like round, I don't know. There's like smooth pieces. There's just, I always associate them with the sets I had as a kid with like the bottoms of boats and stuff like that, because then you could like move it across a floor and it didn't get stuck.
Makes sense. In this case, the pattern that it creates mimics the pattern that you see here on one of the real benches. And this is just a common style bench, but with the buttons here, making that indentation pattern, and we have that mimicked in the bench itself. Again, just a beautiful attention to detail.
Now we'll demonstrate how the piano connects to the Lego Powered Up app in order to play music through the app. So there are two different options here. You've got the listen option and the play option. So we'll start with the listen option. So if I click on that, you give it a second, it comes up with 10 different songs here. So I'll select the entertainer, and it flips through them. Now the first thing we'll do here, we'll hit this little button down here, and that actually will reset the long axle back there. And that resets it to kind of a level area so that before the song starts, all the keys are in the right place. So now if I hit play, it'll start playing the song. And as you can see, the keys are moving. That long axle back there keeps everything going.
We can put the phone.
And one neat feature is you can actually just set your phone here where the music stand is. And then it looks like you've got the piano playing automatically. Now I'll stop that. And then
this is a good time to show the reset
yes.
while looking at the
So
keys.
while you're looking at the keys there, I can hit the reset button. That one, let's try that again. There, that's a little closer. So again, not everything is super precise back there, and that's why, you know, Donnie recommended that change on the axle, so it makes it a little bit more even. So now we'll go back to the main screen here and select the play option. And this is where we can get Corey to demonstrate his piano skills. So in this option, you've got 5 different songs. Corey, which one are you feeling today?
Let's see. Let's do Happy Birthday. It's probably someone's birthday out there.
Yes, that's true. So anyone watching this, happy birthday to you. So now you can watch as Corey hits keys on the piano. And actually here, I'll just set this down. That's easiest.
Sure. Now, if I just hit any key, it looks like I'm playing it, especially if you know the notes on the piano, because I was hitting the right ones. Well, I don't know what key it's in, but I was cheating. That I was using my piano knowledge. What really happens is it doesn't matter what key you hit. By pressing a key, it will play the appropriate note. So
no, even though it's hitting the same key every time, then it still plays the different notes.
Now, of course, it's doing the rhythm that I supply. So is it your birthday?
I wish.
Yeah.
So those are the 2 different options. So you've got the one that's kind of an automatic, almost what you might call like a player piano, right? That plays itself basically. And then you've got the option where you can hit the keys and it plays notes through the app, even though it's not necessarily the note that you're playing on the piano itself. And from that has stemmed another kind of major controversy with this set, and that's the fact that Lego has kind of marketed this set as the first playable Lego piano. And this is something we talked about with Donnie, and I'd be interested to get your thoughts, Corey, as a piano player, someone who's knowledgeable about pianos, on the fact that Lego is marketing this as kind of a playable piano. Does this fit within what you would consider maybe a definition of playable, or is that a bit of a stretch from them?
Well, given, okay, my background, if I'm going to be playing a recital, I'm going to be using this. But this is an interactive piece. And mechanically speaking, there is the reaction to my actions. And yes, it may have to use the circuitry of your phone, but in that sense, it is something that takes your input and helps you make music. It is not a piano in the purest sense. It's not a keyboard. It's not meant to be. It's a Lego interpretation of those things, but that has some amazing details that captures it nicely. So you're not going to get this and play around with it and then tell your piano teacher that you were practicing. Okay, that's not the point. The point is for you to enjoy this just because you love music and Lego.
Exactly, and I do think there's something to be said, though, for the way that Lego has marketed this, in that to the average person, kind of your average consumer out there, saying that Lego piano is playable, they assume you can sit down, hit a key, and then a note from the piano will play. And so I think it is a little bit misleading the way that Lego is marketing this, because there's people who could be led astray who purchase this thinking they can sit down and play an actual song on it through the piano.
Very true. It's all in how you define that word playable. If we're referring to there's a mechanical action that reacts similar, well, you wouldn't call a Lego car drivable, but it may have mechanical parts in it
right.
that mimic that of an internal combustion engine, and yet there is something to be said for the overall design that is special in that way. So is it playable? It just depends on your definition of the word play, but maybe that's what it is. You play with it.
There you go. I like that take on it. So that's kind of all of the different features then of the real piano versus the Lego set, and we showed the app, kind of how everything operates and comes together. So what are some of your kind of final thoughts then, Corey, on this set? What's your overview, major maybe pros and cons you would tell people, maybe someone out there who's interested in purchasing this set, particularly from your perspective as someone who's been playing the piano for many years, maybe for musicians who are watching right now?
Sure. I wouldn't give this to a young kid to put together. And by young, how do we define this? I don't know. I mean, don't give it to a 6-year-old.
Right.
For us, it took hours. Of course, it was during a live stream, but
it was about a 9-hour build for us while we were on a live stream. Other people have said they've done it in like 6 to 7 hours if you aren't talking and stuff like we were doing. But yeah, this is not. Someone asked while we were building this on live stream, like, would it be good for a 10-year-old? And this definitely is not aimed at someone that's 10 years old. I think they would both get bored of the build itself, and then also, once it's all done, they wouldn't find a lot of pleasure in just having this sitting there for most 10-year-olds out there. Lego markets this with their 18+ line, so very much at adults.
And that makes sense to me. It's I would enjoy it, There's the truth of it. I would enjoy it, so yeah.
Yeah, so then for musicians, would you say, if someone plays the piano, is this something that you would recommend for them just because of its accuracy to a real piano and something that a musician can appreciate?
Attention to detail, yes, definitely a musician will appreciate it. And the other thing is even if you're not a musician, we've seen it, people walk up and say, wow. And that captures it, It's impressive to everyone. Musicians just enjoy it all the more.
Exactly, yeah. So we were showing this to some friends of ours who aren't necessarily musicians, and they were blown away by it as well. So it just looks, you can see it on display here. It just looks spectacular on display, even if it's not next to a massive concert grand piano that looks even better next to Corey's piano here. So we both really enjoyed doing the build. It is by far the most expensive Lego Ideas set ever released at $350. So, with a spectacular looking model and all of those functions in there, does come a pretty hefty price tag, but I think that's the price that Lego charges for these higher end products like this. So it's kind of what you've got to expect these days to pay these days from Lego. And Corey actually did this as, basically your first set you've ever built, essentially.
The first significant one, yes. Especially with the size of the instruction book, that was scary. But everything was very nicely laid out. And this was the first large thing that I built. And it worked nicely. Lego did a great job in the packaging and in the presentation so that I, as a beginner, an adult of course, but as a beginner, I was able to tackle it. So. And
you mentioned the instruction booklet. It's over here on display beautifully on the music stand. So for the final end to our video, we can show Donnie there, the fan designer, on the steps of the Lego house with the piano set, and then some of his other designs that he's done here. And this is very, very thick, but beautiful photos here. There's some of the other photos of actual pianos on display here. Let's see, there you go. So on a big stage.
Almost as nice as mine right here,
Almost, yes, not quite.
And then if we just turn back through, you'll see just, again, full color, nicely laid out. Big pictures for me, that was always nice. And that's it.
So yes, excellent looking model, excellent instruction booklet. I think that about covers all of our thoughts on the Lego Ideas Grand Piano set. So thank you, Corey, for taking us through the functions of both the actual piano and the Lego set here, and thank you for building it with me and lending your expertise.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I appreciate the opportunity.
And if people want to see our interview that we did with Donnie Chen, the fan designer, we'll make sure to put a link to that in the description of this video so you can get all of his much more in-depth thoughts on his experience with Lego Ideas and how he came up with the design for the original Lego piano. Thanks so much for watching the video, everyone, and we'll see you soon. Let me pull this out and I can demonstrate. Let's see if I can just disconnect this here without messing anything up. Hopefully, I'm not actually sure if this comes out or not because it's, I don't know, you actually cannot get this out. Okay, that's a problem. I thought, I don't think we can actually get this out. And when I hit play, the piano breaks.
We broke it.
I might have messed something up in there.
Is it still attached? I mean, is it still on?